Good evening, Soldier Boy here, and welcome back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla for the Discovery Tour, The Age of Vikings, for part number 2. If you missed the last stream we did of the Discovery Tour, which was the other evening, I want to say, we basically started Discovery Tour, and we're into part 2. We've just started, well, not long into part 2, we started as the priest. Now, I've been trying to stream in the evening for the past 2 days. Or 2 evenings, if that makes sense, and struggled massively. Now, the reason for this struggle was I stupidly said I'd live stream after physio, and that's never a good idea. And then yesterday evening's stream that was meant to happen, if you haven't seen the Discord, we had some sort of allergic reaction to something, and so I'm trying to do YouTube at the same time, and yeah, I couldn't basically see. My eyes were streaming constantly and I couldn't get it to stop. So this is a stream that I've been trying to do for the last couple of days, and we're finally here, we're finally able to do it. I can't see chat just quickly while I fill in the YouTube side, so I'll catch the chat in a second. But I hope everyone's well. This week's very up and down this week in terms of what we've got planned, because it's half term here in the UK. There are some issues in that respect in terms of me streaming, but we have got some exciting, really exciting stuff coming up, which I will explain shortly. I have put in the Discord the rough plan for this week, but I haven't completely sorted it all out. Mainly because I wasn't sure if my eyes would let me do anything this week. I don't know what was going on. It was horrible last night. Trying to even type the message to actually say I'm really sorry I can't stream tonight was horrendous. And even now talking about, my eyes are starting to water again, which is not a good thing, but I'm going to persevere. But nowhere near as bad as last night. Right, there we go. YouTube is done. Good evening, Super Colby. Good evening, Kathy. How are you both? So yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down couple of days. Physio was hard Friday. Couldn't stream when I wanted to because I was some bits. And then wanted to stream last night. Couldn't stream last night because my eyes decided to react to something ridiculous and I couldn't see anything. But tonight the plan is Age of Vikings, part 2 of the Discovery Tour. Tomorrow, we are streaming in the morning. It will be a later start. I think it's going to be around 10 o'clock in the morning, till about 2 o'clock. So about a 4-hour stream. So it will be, 10 AM to about 2 PM tomorrow. And that'll be Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And then Monday evening, I am considering doing another Monday evening. We'll see how far we get with this tonight. We'll probably do another Discovery Tour Age of Vikings stream tomorrow evening as well. And then what are we doing? Tuesday evening, because I can't stream during the day, we start Guardians of the Galaxy on release day. Guardians of the Galaxy. Be interesting. And Wednesday I haven't decided what we're going to do. It's an evening stream only. I'm not sure yet. We may probably just carry on Guardians of the Galaxy. We may do this. And then Thursday there will be a daytime stream, but again I don't know exact timings just yet. And Thursday evening we'll have an evening stream. Currently it's Age of Vikings. We'll see how we go and decide from there. That's the rough plan for this week. Yeah, I'm getting there. My eyes, I do not know what happened last night or yesterday. It was the whole day. It kind of started late Friday evening. And I just couldn't see. My eyes were streaming, sore, and I had some sort of reaction to something. But I haven't done anything different. It was really weird. But yeah, that started late Friday evening. And I was in pain anyway. And then Saturday all day. Just the whole day of just constantly wiping my eyes was horrible. But there we go. We're here. We're going to carry on. So if you don't know what we did last stream, we finished chapter 1. We can have a quick look at where we're at. So quests. We finished chapter 1. Chapter 1 was Thorstein and Gunhilda, a young, ambitious couple hoping to gain the attention of Harold Fairhair. We basically, I don't want to ruin the story if people haven't done it, but at the same time I kind of want to explain what we did. So we were Thorstein, and we stop someone else accusing us of being a traitor, endangering lives, with the help of our wife and other people. And today we started this. We haven't done much of it though. And we're now in England. That was in Norway. This is in England. Good evening, Keller. How are you? We are Brother Alric. And this is his first day at the monastery in the Isle of Ely. And it's actually, the Isle of Ely is where I grew up. So I'm really excited for this one, to see what it's like. We did a little bit. We helped another monk, who choked, stopped breathing. We got told off for that. And now to help him, we need to find 4 ingredients. And they're not your normal ingredients. We need to find dust from a relic, double brewed ale, honey, and feverfew. I think we've done that one. I'm trying to remember what we've done and what we haven't, because on the map it will come up differently. I think we have done that one, because we came in here to learn about what we needed. So, one of our first things is outside. You want to play Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered version. You'll wait till Tuesday, don't you? You'll get there though. Right, let's have a look. So use Odin's sight, or highlight something in the proximity. Did we see where? Oh, it's up there. There we go. But we have an interact symbol. We're trying to do every interact symbol as we come across them. And we won't leave the chapter until we've done them all, if that makes sense. And then we clear them all as we go. So this is the monastery of Ely, the monastery for all. Ely was among the monasteries that welcomed both men and women. Ely's founder was determined to offer a retreat to anyone, no matter their gender, who wanted to take up to religious life. So I'm assuming, and this is only an assumption from my part, that is Ely Cathedral. The only reason Ely is a city is because of its cathedral. I didn't know the history though, massively. I knew a bit of it, but not massive. So here we go. The founder and abbess of Ely was Queen Ethelrith of Northumbria. I'm hoping that's correct. She was also known as Etheldreda, Audrey, or Eldorida. She passed away in the year 679 and was buried in a simple wooden coffin. Years later, the coffin was opened so her remains could be moved to a new marble sarcophagus. According to legend, those who peered into her grave met with a shock, for despite having been dead for years, Ethelrith's body showed not a single sign of decay. The incredible preservation of her body was seen as a miracle, and Ethelfrith was declared a saint. This illuminated manuscript highlights her sacred status through the use of gold. Gold, seen here in Saint Ethelfrith's robes, frame, and more symbolise sanctity, importance, and direct connection to God. So that is Saint Ethelfrith, also known as Audrey. Okay. Didn't realise that. Right, we know there's something up here we need to get. Well, there was. Where's it gone? It's inside. No, it's not inside.
We might have ale in the kitchens.
Right, we're heading for the kitchens. So we're heading. We're looking for ale. Wasn't this where we was eating? We got told off, wasn't it? Okay. Is this double brewed?
One found. 3 to find.
There we go. We've done that mark already. That is double brewed ale. We've already accomplished that. So the other 3 are this way. I don't want to say one is inside this church because I would guess dust from a relic would be inside a church, would be my guess.
The relics are kept at the back of the chapel.
Okay. It's telling me everything I'm saying in advance. We've done this interaction already, actually. There we go. We've now got the dust from a relic. All the things you need to make a good medicine is dust from a relic. But that's what they believed in this time, isn't it? That's the thing. Is there a way out this way? No. No way out that way. No one's bothering the fact that we're running around like a madman. Let's have a look out here. There's a couple of things out here, it seems. I'm assuming I can't jump with him. Would a monk be able to jump? You know, a little assassin's dive? What do you reckon? I'm going to see if he can, actually. No, he can't. I had to give it a go. Okay. This is a parchment made to last. Parchment writing material is made by soaking, scraping and dyeing animal skins into flexible resistant sheet. White paper falls apart over time in colder climates. Parchment can endure for centuries. Okay. Parchment was made to last so that its content could be carried from generation to generation. This quality was recognised in the Viking Age. In 733 CE, King Ethelbald of the Mercians praised the endurance of writing in a charter to Bishop Aldwulf. He wrote, "Whatever gifts men give their words, if the gifts are to endure, they should be recounted and supported with written letters." Ethelbald and others recognised that the written word would be a valuable record for people, places and events whose memories would otherwise fade. Because of this understanding, modern historians have been able to study many centuries old manuscripts, like the one seen here. I will say though, if that's a manuscript, could you really depict what it's saying? I know it says it's a depiction of 2 steps of manuscript production, so that's showing them drying the skin of the animal, but I don't know what that one's doing. It's like it's cutting it in bits. But yeah, okay. Dust from relic makes the best medicine. Well, of course, we all know this, don't we? And also ale. Ale cures everything. Every ailment, ale will help. Okay. Okay, we've got a couple of mysteries over here, which are behind the scenes. And we need to find the other ones we've got. So we've got this one here. This is behind the scenes. These are normally quite good. And these ones I don't normally need to talk for, because they'll talk for me. So let's have a look at this first, behind the scenes. The kind of behind the scenes things we learned in Norway was how many times they redid the Assassin Crest, which was really interesting. Of course, Kathy, of course. Right, let's have a look. Take a leap of faith. Rebuilding the past from the ground up.
As the monastery of Ely had been destroyed, level designers and artists had to draw their inspiration elsewhere. More specifically, from the Saint-Martin du Canigou Abbey in France. Despite the construction being 2 centuries older than AC Valhalla's time period, it offered interesting architecture for the players to enjoy. Atop a hill for great scenery, a cloister to clear the perspective, and the bell tower to provide an iconic viewpoint. Finally, an underground tunnel was added, a unique feat perfect for a surprise attack. But some things remain accurate. Several eels were placed in the waters circling the monastery, a nod to the feature that gave it its name.
So, I was wrong, massively wrong. So I assumed the monastery was the Ely Cathedral. That is still there today. But as Sean kindly told us, the monastery doesn't exist today. So I didn't know. I just assumed it was Ely Cathedral. So they took the image from this monastery in France and used that within the game to make this monastery that isn't there now, but it was in the past. That's quite cool. It wasn't what I was expecting in the slightest, to be honest. But they added some realism by adding eels. So Ely is known as the Isle of Eels. That's how it got its name, because eels were everywhere. It was underwater at one point, so the Isle of Eels is where the name comes from. But the monastery isn't there. I didn't realise that. It's just more behind the scenes. Kind of tells you how much effort they put into the game, doesn't it? Right, both of ours are over here, which I'm assuming we need to leave the monastery to go to. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump down. You know, all monks can jump and not get hurt. We'll do this one here and then we'll have a look. What's this one? This is raiding the monasteries. Oh, this will be interesting. So the main goal of Viking raiders was to make a quick profit. Members of the clergy maintained that the monasteries were the Vikings' favourite targets. But did the Vikings truly single out the monasteries for attack? Before we even read this, in my mind, monasteries had a lot of gold because they saw gold as this symbol of wealth, and it was a way of status. So even before I actually read this, in my mind, Vikings aimed for these monasteries because, well, they had gold in them. More so than small villages would have done. Fishing villages wouldn't have gold, but a monastery would. If this is probably going to tell me I'm completely wrong, we're about to find out. So medieval Scandinavians may not have seen their attacks on monasteries as different from any other raid. New in town and unfamiliar with Christian institutions, the Vikings might not have been able to tell a monastery apart from any other building. There's another reason the monasteries might have tempted the Vikings, their location. As pictured here, monasteries like Lindisfarne were often built close to waterways, much to the horror of monks and nuns. This left them very exposed to Viking raiders who travelled by boat. So, not quite what I was expecting. I thought it was because they could see gold and that kind of thing on show. Whereas it's not quite. It's more the fact that they were near the water. You would have thought if you were in the Viking period, or even before that, and you're building monasteries, and you know they keep getting raided, you'd start building further away from water, wouldn't you? Surely. Okay, so we've got... There's another one in there to do. These ones are outside. We'll go and do the outside ones first, because I think we can probably do that on the way back in. That's my thinking. So this, I think, is a behind the scenes again. I'm assuming there's going to be honey here as well. It looks like they're keeping bees. So liquid gold. Honey attracts flies and apparently Vikings too. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, monks were known years ago as, and nuns as well, and they still do it today. There's a place, I want to say in Greece, there's some nuns in Greece that they produce honey because their monastery's on top of a hill, completely out of the way, and it's incredible. And yeah, they're renowned for keeping bees.
Honeymoon referred to the Scandinavian practice of giving newlyweds a moon cycle's worth of mead. Which is too much mead. But honey was valued by Angles and Norsemen alike. It was then vital for the developers to represent the beekeeping practice as faithfully as possible. Depending on each region's real flora, fields of flax seeds, poppies and heather were designed and implemented by modelers and level artists. The flowers used as a seamless way to guide players through their environment. The beehives, seen from afar, also act as a natural marker. You might say a beacon. And are surrounded by NPCs collecting the honey. Sorry about the beacon thing.
I didn't find beacon that funny until we said it a second time. I will say one thing straight away. I don't remember playing through the game and seeing these that often. Now, it could be just I didn't pay that much attention, maybe, but I thought we explored every inch of Britain in that time period that we possibly could. We found secrets no one else found. We found, you know, Santa Claus's sled at one point. We did everything. I don't remember seeing these. Now, you guys might be able to tell me that I'm wrong and may remember seeing them, but I don't remember seeing them. Which is a shame, really, considering it sounds like they put a lot of effort into making these a focal point. But they would be near monasteries, and most of the time when we went to a monastery, we raided it. We weren't really looking around, we just raided it. So maybe that's why we didn't possibly see them. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe we didn't. You don't recall seeing them either, Kathy? No, that's what I thought. It was, I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it?
The nuns had set up to gather honey round here.
Okay, let's see if we can take some honey. So that's what they would have looked like in game. I do not, for the life of me, remember them. Right, is she going to talk to me or is she not? There she is.
Do I just take it? Or...
Careful, brother. You wouldn't want to get stung. The bees jealously guard their golden hoard.
I need honey for a remedy. Can you help me?
Of course. Take the honey from the table. I'll gather more for the abbess.
Thank you, sister. God bless you.
Okay. Gather the honey from the table. Not that table. This table. And we have our honey.
Now for the last.
So we're looking for feverfew. Feverfew, I'm assuming, is going to be a plant. But yeah, I just don't remember the beehives. I wish I did. I wish I'd noticed them when we played. I don't know. We can call a horse, that'll do. Right, so we've got a... Hello, Cass, how are you? So we've got a behind the scenes. We've also got the fever few to collect, and I think there is... It's disappeared now. There was another one nearby. We'll do the behind the scenes first. And we are actually near the fever few. Can't sleep, and you've got work tomorrow. Yeah, that's never a good combination. I have actually, to be fair, Discovery Tour is really interesting. We're only in the second chapter. I really enjoy how it's a story-based game mode, if that makes sense. I liked Discovery Tour and Origins, but it got boring because you just walked. This is there's a lot more to this. There's a story, there's a reason to do things, and I like that. It does involve a lot of reading for me, but luckily the behind-the-scenes stuff, which is extremely interesting, I don't have to read. And this behind the scenes is going to be telling us about the world in mysterious forests. Careful when walking into the woods, you might get lost.
Level artists and designers used different types of forests to structure England's kingdoms. Oak trees, ivy and rowan in Wessex. Heatherfields, Scot pine trees, moss and willow trees in East Anglia. Beech trees, bluebells and autumnal birch trees in Mercia. And tundra bushes, western gorse, dead and frozen trees in Northumbria. Ubisoft Sophia even recreated Wistman's Wood in Hamptonshire, using the pictures the development team took during their scouting trip. To do so, they integrated old, medium-sized trees, a smattering of rocks, a soupçon of moss, and a bit of fog to complete this ominous atmosphere.
That's really cool. And if anything, this behind the scenes just gives you an insight into how much work goes into this. So they actually went to these places, took lots and lots of pictures, probably took loads of measurements, and that's how they designed some of these areas. And I think that's really intriguing to find out and see the effort that goes into these amazing worlds that Ubisoft does create. Okay, feverfew. I'm assuming it's a plant. Let us find out.
Feverfew grows best in full sun, and hopefully far from the sisters' bees.
We've also unlocked Hyphen as a character we can now use in this. But obviously we'll use the characters designed for each story.
What does Feverfew look like again?
Good morrow, brother. What brings you to the woods?
Good morrow. Do you know where I could gather Feverfew or wormwood?
No wormwood left this season. As for Feverfew, no small white daisies are what you seek.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.
Okay, he's explained what they look like. We just need to find them. You feel like future Assassin's Creed games should just stick to a singular story, rather than connecting it with the plot of other Assassin's Creed games. Well, normally the plot continuation comes from the modern day story, doesn't it? More so than the in-game story. Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. A story like Black Flag, which had its own story but then did connect. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Rogue, yeah, I do get what you mean. Because you needed Rogue Connector too. Some were quite standalone though. I think the modern day was meant to be the one thing that connected them all, to be fair. Right, here we go.
I have everything I need. Now to mix it.
We have got every bit we needed for this remedy. I don't know where we... Oh, we've got to go back to mix it, I think. We didn't actually ride very far by the end of it, did we? But we are going to jump back on the horse. Let's just have a quick look on the map just to see what else we need to collect. So, there is another one here. Actually, we're going to head there first. I don't want to miss any before we leave this chapter. And I think we're probably quite close to finishing the chapter, I would guess. Don't know for sure. Thoughts on Assassin's Creed 2, by the way? Better than Odyssey or Valhalla? Assassin's Creed 2, story-wise, I really enjoyed. Combat was horrible. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, I think the combat improves massively. The combat in Assassin's Creed 2 was horrendous. But I enjoyed the story. It was a very good story. I enjoyed the characters as well, especially the Uncle Mario. I love that kind of connection. Do you know what? I actually don't want to rank them. I don't want to say one is better than the other. Not yet. Do you know what? I think I want to wait until we've done every single Assassin's Creed game and it's all fresh in my mind. And then I think we'll I don't know, I'll probably do a discussion video or something about, in my opinion, you know, worst, best. But then they're all good in their own rights at the same time. After a long time of not playing Valhalla, I think I personally enjoyed the game. Didn't like it as an AC game. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You're not a true assassin, so because of that, it doesn't feel like a true Assassin's Creed game. I do understand the people that say that, and I don't disagree, but I don't agree. But I do get what you're saying. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood combat is really good. I haven't, obviously, it's been a long time since I've done the last one, so I haven't got the revelations yet. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 2 combat was horrible. Right, let's have a look at this one. Let's get this one cleared. Magic and medicine. This will be interesting. The church considered magical beliefs pagan and evil and forbade their practice. However, monks and nuns still believed in magical creatures like elves, and these beliefs continued to influence Christian medicine. Bold's Leechbook, a 10th century medical book, shows how magical beliefs endured in the world of medicine. The book included remedies against sicknesses caused by elves, goblins, or the devil himself. If a person was suffering from elf disease, they felt a pain as though they'd been shot. According to some, this was because they had been shot with an elven arrow. The book also included suggestions to fend off attacks by a more canonical Christian enemy, the devil. In this page, the Leechbook suggests a remedy against all fear needs, costigum. I probably didn't say that at all right. All temptations of the devil. If you remember during the gameplay, we were called the devil a lot. Whenever we did anything, we were called the devil, especially when we raided. So the Christian belief in the people was so innate that, you know, anything bad happened, they assumed it was the devil's work. You might be biased, but I really don't like the city revelations. Okay, I'm looking forward to trying it. I know Keller said to me earlier today he's had some issues with revelations in terms of platinum. He said the game feels like a 2D platform game more than anything else. So we've got to wait till we get there to have a look and see what we think. Right, we're going to head to this one first, and then what we're going to do is quickly run to these two last discovery sites, and then we'll carry on the story. Just that way we guarantee we don't finish the story without doing them all. And they're kind of on the way. I do like old ancient English architecture, to be fair. I think some of it's really nice. Some of it depends what time period. There are some time periods where the architecture is horrible. You've got to think years ago they used to build council estates, and they were built using concrete, and it was pure concrete a lot of the time. So they were just these concrete buildings, and they look horrible, to be honest. Whereas now, obviously, materials used are slightly different. But yeah, I know, I do like some of the old architecture. I like particularly old churches. I think some of the old churches and stuff are really nice. So this is a life of prayer. The life of a monk or nun was all about prayer. They would gather many times a day to sing and celebrate the glory of God. But it wasn't all songs and contemplation. There was also hard work involved. Work in the fields, chopping trees, weaving textiles and gardening, all in a day's work for a monk or a nun. Some even kept bees, as seen in the illustration. These tasks were a form of prayer. Hard work was a way to commune with God. But keeping the monks and nuns busy wasn't just a teaching of humility or self-sufficiency. It's also a way to keep them out of trouble. So they're trying to say that the monks and nuns, the busier they were, the less trouble they got into. I honestly couldn't see a monk or nun really getting into that much trouble, but there we go. You want to look. Do you have issues in Europe being a citizen of the UK? Is it fairly equal? Do Europeans treat English people differently? Do you have issues in Europe being a citizen of the UK? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. When I lived in Germany, as an English person, Germany isn't a very welcoming place, shall we say, because of obviously previous past issues between the two countries. So when I lived in Germany as an English person, I wasn't made to feel welcome. You were the lowest of the low. If you were in a queue, you would get German people walk in front of you, that kind of thing, because of the English-German divide, let's say. Where are we heading? We're heading to the next gold point, weren't we, first? I want to do the mission, but I also want to make sure we get all these first. In England, before we left Europe, I would have said everyone was created fairly equal. Everyone was fairly equal in the way they were treated. Since we left Europe, there are some minorities that have made European people's lives a lot harder. But I think it's the same as everywhere. You're always going to get this divide in any country when the people that are there aren't from that country, if that makes sense. You're always going to get that small issues. I wouldn't say it's any different to any other country, to be fair. But yeah, the only time I felt treated differently by quite a bit was in Germany, to be fair. Right, this is telling the time. People in the early Middle Ages understood time very differently than they do today. Some medieval scholars saw time as a creation of God. Time also gave rhythm and structure to people's lives. According to the Venerable Bede, the Latin word for time, tempus, came from the verb temperamentum, measure. The origins of the word suggest that time and measurement are closely linked, and that time was measurable in the Middle Ages. The reasons for measuring time back then are not the same as society's reasons today. Hours and minutes were not used to calculate how much time was needed to accomplish a task. The schedule of the day was mostly determined by the course of the sun in the sky. However, measuring time was very important when it came to religious holidays. Medieval scholars would rack their brains trying to calculate when to celebrate Easter. Determining the date of such a holy day was a very complex process and required a meticulous understanding of time measurement and arithmetic. How did they make mathematical and astronomical calculations without a calculator? By counting up to 9,999 on one's fingers, as illustrated in this manuscript. That was how they finger counted. Oh wow, okay, so this is a completely different way of counting then, would be my assumption. So that's 1, but he's using 3 fingers, is 1. Is that right? I think that's 2, with 2 fingers. Why is 1, and then 1 finger is 3, 4 is, you know, the surface kind of look, and then it's getting really weird after that. But that was their way of counting. But they could count to 9,999 on their fingers with this way of counting. Yeah, I thought sign language was confusing, but that's even more so. And allow the locals to pass right through me while the cops. Hang on, you've said a sentence, Cass, and you've not. I don't know where the first part of that sentence is. So, and allow the locals to pass right through me while the cops watch. You've missed something before that, because I can't understand what that means. It's so mind-boggling how far we're in the future. I was doing some research for ancient humans and the works of hard for civilization here we are today, billions of years later. And this is sure not the year 2000. Wow, I know, that's incredible, isn't it? Their own sign language to be able to count to 9,999. In my mind, using one hand, which has 4 fingers and a thumb. But yet you can get to that kind of number. That's an incredible way of creating a way of counting. Thanks for the like, that was much appreciated. Okay, we've got one more discovery site and then we can carry on with the story. See what happens when we mix this remedy. I'm really, really hoping the remedy doesn't kill him, considering what we're making it out of. But yeah, I don't know what you mean by that sentence, Cass, that you put. Just because the first bit's missing, I think. Can't see where the first bit is. That makes sense. Apologies for me. If it does make sense, let me know. So monasteries' many roles. Early medieval monasteries were far more than just the religious centres. Monasteries played a major role in the economic, political and social fabric of medieval society. Homo sapiens came around 200,000 years ago. Yeah, it's a long time. You've got to think of the evolution as well. But you say that, it's amazing how things have changed to now. Going back 20 years, not a massive amount of time, But the world has changed massively in 20 years, from 1990. No, that's 30 years, isn't it? From say 30 years then, 1990 to now. Think of how technology's changed, the internet, things like that. That 30 years has changed mankind. Thank you for the like, that was much appreciated. Has changed mankind in the way they are, massively. And that's just 30 years. You've got the rest of the years before that and how much came before. It's incredible to see how people evolve and change and how the world changes in that respect. So monasteries serve many purposes and needs. Pilgrims and other visitors would arrive seeking spiritual guidance, medicine, education and more. As seen in this image, monasteries could grow to great sizes to meet their community's needs. Monasteries are also among the biggest local landowners and, by extension, the biggest local employers in a given territory. Because they control people's lands and livelihoods, monasteries held immense social power and could help shape the political landscape. The authority and influence of the monasteries made them helpful meeting sites for other powerful elites. Local aristocracy, that's what I was after. I knew how to say it, I just couldn't get it out. And even royalty would gather at monastic centres to discuss politics. These nobles would often be joined by their entourage, whose presence offered its own set of challenges to their hosts. Not only did the monasteries have to provide food for all those guests, a huge undertaking, they also had to take care that their own monks and nuns would not be tempted to a sinfulness by the presence of so many worldly visitors. So that tells me that monasteries grew and grew and grew, were the focal point of towns, villages alike. But their biggest concern was with all these people from all over the world coming and paying visits to the monasteries. They didn't want the monks and the nuns to do things they shouldn't be doing with the visitors. It's the last thing I was thinking they'd be thinking of doing, to be honest, but there we go. But it's incredible how much power the church had in this time period. If you consider it to now, where the church, especially in the UK, it is different in other countries, but in the UK the church doesn't have any real power. Back then they did. You know, they decided politics. They they helped make decisions. I was born around the perfect time, I think, because I was watching the 90s die out and the Gen Z world coming to life. It was weird. Oh, absolutely, yeah. You didn't use Wi-Fi till 12, 13. I remember the internet dial-up, and I'm 35. I wouldn't say I'm particularly old, but I remember dial-up. You know, making that noise in the corner, and then I remember the grandparents when you get off the internet ringing you and say, "I've not been able to get through on the phone for hours," because you couldn't ring your landline if you was on the internet. Unheard of today. It's just weird how in a small space of time things change so dramatically, but yet that's only a small space of time. What else is going to change within the next 30 years, for instance? Right, we're going to mix this remedy. I'm not really hopeful of the remedy being a good thing, to be honest. We shall see, though.
The recipe from the scriptorium. And now, I am delighted to discover you know the use of the mixing bench, too. Would that God had sent you to me sooner? The infirmary would be in far better shape.
I spent many summers mixing poultices for the townsfolk in Canterbury.
Then I shall observe, and hopefully learn some new tricks of my own. What was the first ingredient in Sister Winifred's remedy?
Please tell me I don't have to remember. Oh, we've got to remember quick. It's not manure from the stables, earwax from the abbess, ale from the kitchens.
The first ingredient is double brewed ale.
We're timed on this, so we've got to actually think about this. This is what I like about the Discovery Tour. It's interactive.
What ingredients did you gather in the forest?
It is so interactive, and I really like that. Feverfew and honey, nightshade and hemlock, spiderwebs and worms. Well, I'm still not certain this medicine's going to help, but we'll go for what we think it was. Feverfew and honey.
It was feverfew and honey to ease the throat.
But yeah, Cass, this is what makes this Discovery Tour so much different to before.
What did Sister Winifred suggest you substitute for the final ingredient?
Oh, this was dust from a relic. A hair from a pig snout, dust from a relic. A kiss from the abbot. Dust from a relic it is.
Dust from a relic is said to cure many ills. There. Done.
I still can't see this curing him, but we'll see. And considering Brother Elric didn't feel like he was wanted in his first day
This should
here.
ease Brother Oswin's pain.
They seem to have, you know, gained some sort of, what's the word I'm after? Some respect from the others for what he's just done. I will catch you with chat in a second as well.
Here,
Right,
brother.
will this work?
It will ease your pain.
He's either going to do one or two things. It's going to heal him or kill him. I don't know what one might hedge my bets on at this point. If it kills him on his first day in the monastery, it's probably not a good thing.
How fortunate I am that God sent you in my time of need.
Rest now. Soon you'll be back on your feet.
Bells are ringing.
Brother Elrich, you must come at once.
We're wanted.
What's the matter, brother?
Do you not hear the bells? The abbess requires your presence at chapel.
So something's happening in the monastery.
Go as soon as I'm done helping Brother Oswin.
No, you must go now. Hurry!
So this is really weird. Brother Elric felt he was so unwanted when he first started his first
I
day.
hope the abbess will tell me what's going on.
And now he's wanted. Everyone wants to speak to him. It's really weird. I'm going to quickly catch up with chat and then we'll carry on. Your parents were your age when MySpace was a thing. Do androids, robots will be a normal thing soon, or do you think we should wait? I still think there's a big wait. Androids and robots they've said they'll be the next few years for years, and it's just never really happened. I think there's some latent issues that need to be addressed when it comes to robots and things. That's the problem. Yeah, the dialogue in Valhalla. This Discovery tour is so different to normal. You hate the hairstyle of the monks. And not true. Well, I had Maharajas during the 1800s, like during Victoria. That wasn't that during the time of the slavery and stuff was still there, and they probably brought them over because they were different more than anything else. Right, something is happening. Everyone's running. We can't run. I know that doesn't help things. Where are we going? I think the monastery is under attack. Can't see anything, but that's what I think is happening. Means great kings. Does it really? That's not what I thought it meant at all. I just thought Maharaja was just another name for Indian. Indian heritage, but they dress really well, if that makes sense. Gandhi. Okay.
Abbess, what is happening?
Come with me, Brother Elrich. The heathens are on their way.
I think I
We
guessed
must secure
right.
the relics before they approach.
Then we shall all flee together?
No, brother. The others prepare to fight. Collect the reliquary,
The
please.
Vikings are attacking the monastery on Brother Elric's first day. Now, if anyone's ever had a bad first day at work, ever, I think this tops it. Your first day at a new job,
Forgive me, blessed saints.
and people are
I
trying to
must
kill
carry
you.
from your place of rest. Abbess, don't leave me!
Right, where we go?
Come, we have no time to spare. Take
Escape
the
with the
relic
relic.
to your father. Our families may share no love, but we are of a mind when it comes to the Lord. He will know what to do.
That man is a stranger to me.
As was our Lord Jesus Christ when
That
he
is a
died
big
on the
relic
cross
as
for
well,
our
isn't it?
sins. Help often comes from unexpected hands, brother. Now, follow quickly.
Right, we're following her. We've got to protect the relic and follow her.
Into the catacombs. Remain swift and silent.
And we're taking this to our father, who Elric claims he doesn't know very well. That's not me doing it, that is a shaking of the horns as the heathens, as they called them, the Vikings, attacked the monastery. This is so different than what I was expecting.
I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters.
And Elric is saying a prayer to himself as he tries to get away. Got a little boat. His flight ensured by the abbess's sacrifice, but Alric is alone with a precious relic in hostile territory. I think we finished at number 2. To reach King Alfred's court, he will have to cross Viking-ravaged lands and pray he is not discovered. Duty fulfilled. So we've finished chapter 2, the start of Brother Elric's story. I'm assuming we've unlocked a new raven. I'm assuming all of them kind of interweave together, I think is what's going to happen. Next quest will start in 27 seconds, and this is seaworthy. This is Thorstein returns home after 5 years of raiding. Reunited with his wife, he wants nothing more than to sail west and build a life with her, but to do so he will need the support of Harold, who may not be willing to let him leave. We'll start that in a second. I'm just going to catch up with chat. First day at work, salary equals death. I know, it's not a good first day. Definitely not a good first day, Kathy, is it? History used to be my least favourite subject, but now I really love it. Assassin's Creed games are a massive source of historical accuracy. In some senses. Obviously not all of it is true, but they do give you so much. Led Zeppelin Immigrant Song is so much better to listen to while playing Valhalla. Norse themes. Okay, that's quite cool. Never seen snow. What? Seriously, you've never seen snow? Love to go to either Canada or Norway one day just to see it. I can't believe you've never seen snow. It's like we take it for granted. We don't get as much snow here as we used to. I remember being a kid and there'd be snow every Christmas, around Christmas time. We don't get it as often now. But now when we get it, it's normally really bad, like really heavy. It was only a few years ago we couldn't get out of our road because it's just snow and ice was everywhere. Also, we're not really equipped to deal with it in this country. So although it may not be as bad as other places, we're just not equipped to deal with it. But yeah, it's just something you take for granted, isn't it? The snow, that's the thing. But yeah, you've got to see it one day, Cass. If you're enjoying the historical side of stuff, though, I'd go to Norway, personally. See some of the old Norse buildings. That's where I'd want to go. But yeah, Brother Elric's first day. So for those that missed the first live stream, this is Thorstein. Obviously, he looks nothing like Rival, male or female. This is the character that was in the first chapter of the Discovery Tour. We're now joining him again in chapter 3. It's end of summer, June 25 to 29 degrees Celsius. Wow. You haven't experienced negative temperatures yet. When you first experience negative temperatures, they're going to hit you really hard because if your body's not used to them. Whereas for us, hot temperatures we struggle with so much because we've got so much of a difference between a winter to summer. So we struggle with the range of temperatures, whereas you're probably better in the heat. But yeah, when you first get negative, you're gonna struggle a little bit. But yeah, hopefully you do experience it. It's just different. It's just one of those weird things that you just take for granted. You can actually do a course in mythological studies. Yeah, there's quite a few courses like that, to be fair. So let me just try and think where we left Thorstein. So Thorstein had just managed to get the guy who accused him of giving him a bad sail, or his wife making a really bad sail, for their longship. We'd just got him exiled, I believe. And we'll see what happens there. So this is meant to be 5 years later, I think, by the sounds of it. Hopefully it'll explain it a little bit. If this is in the same area we did the first story in, I would assume we've done all the gold markers, and if that's the case, it'll just be run through the story. But we shall see. You will freeze, Cass. He will, won't he? He lives in Alaska. Oh, wow. While the Easy have brought Thorstein great riches, they have also taken their toll. I was reading chat and I noticed there's some letters come up. I better read those. He wants to give up raiding, but to do so he needs Harold's permission, something the young Jarl is unlikely to give. So this is 870 CE, Alrekstad, Norway.
So I pried the book from his hands and tore the covers off to bring home.
I'll catch up with chat in a second.
I'll be able to afford another slave this harvest season, at the very least.
And these Saxons and their books. You'd think they were more precious than their own lives, but if no one lives to speak of what's written down, who will remember it?
Not to speak of how they treat their dead. Putting bones or pieces of wood inside golden boxes. How this honors their god, I'll never understand.
It's weird, isn't it, how the Vikings see. So it's weird how the Vikings see how the English, well, it's not the English, are they? Anglo-Saxons. How they treat their dead is so different for the Vikings and how they treat theirs. So we haven't done any of these discovery sites because chapter 1 was all the way down here. That's all we completed for chapter 1. And we are up here for chapter 3. I should have actually realised that at the time, to be fair. Right, I'm going to quickly catch up. We live in Alaska and seeing lots of snow and negative temperatures. Oh, that's mad to live in Alaska, though. I think that's really cool. You was at Santa Monica Beach and I touched the beach with my bare foot. The water was so cold that it felt like my hand was being hit. Wow. To be honest, you wouldn't accidentally fall into the sea in Antarctica, would you? Really? Yeah, the Neptune is horrendous cold, but then you'll never be able to walk on it. I wouldn't say though the beach that you went to in Santa Monica Beach, I wouldn't imagine the water was cold, but because you're not used to it, it probably felt cold than actually what it was. That's the thing. But yeah, Alaska, that's so cool. I'm one of these people that doesn't feel the cold. Very rare I get cold. Normally, if I'm ill, I get cold. But I feel the heat really easily.
The hero of many tales.
So Thorstein now has gone from this guy that was accused of, you know, potentially harming his comrades, his friends, his tribe, to they're singing stories about him. What really is the difference between Anglo-Saxons and Vikings? Their gods, their beliefs.
Pass without experiencing the sting of your wit.
Let's flight. Okay.
The mood I'm in, you'd best hope for stinging rather than a lashing.
Cold water tap is the only cold thing. That's mad.
Isle of Ely, great riches were won.
Oh wow. Okay. It was over before this flight began. Saying that you would like some. It was over before the flighting began.
Before this flighting begun.
I don't know if I'm doing any good or not.
Surely you can do better than
that was the better option, surely.
I've heard of your legend, your grace and prowess.
You said it yourself, I've no need to impress. To not have heard it, you'd have to be dense. You said it yourself, I've no need to impress.
You said it yourself,
I'm guessing.
I've no need to impress.
The merchant with the silver tongue strikes again.
I'm assuming that's right.
It's a shame Harald Jarl outshines you so brightly.
Okay. It's getting a little bit close to home now, isn't it? He outshines us both, he's so sprightly. Beware that such insults aren't those I take lightly. Beware that such insults aren't those I take lightly. Yeah. I can't say sprightly, I just don't think that's right.
Beware that such insults aren't those I take lightly.
A proper threat, delivered in perfect rhythm. Oh,
okay, I think that was alright.
I missed you, Thorstein.
I trust you have been stung enough for now.
So Thorstein is also known as the Silver Tongue, for those who missed the first one. We've got a learnings menu, a learnings thing now. This was the Scold in his art. This is a new one. We haven't done this one. These are, when they come up separately, these extra things to have a look at. You walk outside 5 minutes, you'll probably be drenched in sweat. It's so hot. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to deal with the heat there. I really wouldn't, to be fair. So this is a Scold and his art. So what I'm taking straight away from this story, by the way, I would just noticed it as well. So we were just Elric at the monastery in Ely, or the Isle of Ely. Vikings attacked, and the Vikings that attacked was actually Thorstein. So Thorstein, with his Viking band and Harold, King Harold, they attacked the monastery in the Isle of Ely, where Elric ran away from with the relic. So already the story's interwoven. Have you ever had a moment where you remember something which you have never experienced? Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, deja vu isn't actually deja vu. Deja vu is basically an issue with the eye and the sensors in the brain. That's deja vu. Yeah, Yeah, there's always times you remember things that may not have happened. It's there is a medical term for it, and I can't think what it is off the top of my head. But it does happen. Okay, Skuld and his art. Skuld as a poet devoted to memorialising the actions of those around him. After all, reputation was paramount in both his life and the next. So we learned previously the Vikings liked to remember their family. Family was the most important thing to them, and they liked to remember what they did in their lifetime, and they did it by painting rocks and things like that. But also you had skulls. So to carry out this task, the Skuld composed poems that followed a complex set of rules. He strove through the finesse of his metaphors, the famous kennings or kenninger, to create a masterpiece that cultivated glory and fame. The main subjects of his poems were the benefactors, that is, those able to pay him generously for his performances. It was like that Skuld would also play an instrument while performing. Pictured here is a lyre, an instrument commonly used during the early Middle Ages. We had to go and find one of these in the game, I believe, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember I'm going to get one of those. Good evening, gaming. How are you? No, it's not being delusional at all. It's a disconnect between the brain and the eye, and you think you've seen something or think you've done something that you haven't done. It's just an issue where it's a disconnect between the two. Same as deja vu is the same. Deja vu is the image being repeated twice into your eye. Thank you for the like of those, much appreciated. You love these philosophical questions, don't you, Cass? You think we're here for a purpose or purely by chance? What's my thoughts? I think many things. I'm getting there, thank you, gaming. I'm getting there, thank you. Yeah, I think many things. I think obviously you have to live life to the fullest. I'm definitely testament to that after what I've been through in the last 10 months. And I think, you know, everyone has a purpose, and some people may never find their purpose, but others will. But you've got to just make the most out of life. You cannot live with regret. That's my biggest thing, is you can never... I don't ever want to look back on my life and regret anything. You know, and getting injured now, if I never regain full movement, I've done what I wanted to do. You know, I was in the army. I've been a chef in London. I've done what I wanted to do. I'm content, and I think that's the important thing. Never live with regret. Walked over to the room to charge my phone. I kept my phone there instead of 20 minutes. My phone was charging, and you saw. I'm interested in what the next bit is now, Cass. Come on. This is our next bit we're doing, is keeping allies close. We're about to go and speak to Alfred afterwards. Norse leaders ensured loyalty from their allies and subjects by sharing their wealth and loot. So this is how they shared out their loot, I'm assuming. What about the whole time? Yeah, that's weird. That's weird, Cass. But it's just a disconnect between the brain and your eyes and that kind of senses and stuff. It happens to everyone. It's nothing to worry about. You know, it's the same as you lose your keys. You may have put them down 10 minutes previously, and then you don't have no clue where they are. It's a slight disconnect in the brain, how it works. It's nothing to worry about. So to hold on to his power, a chieftain had to keep his companions happy. In other words, wealthy. Whether by trade or by war, Norse leaders needed to get their hands on loot and riches to redistribute them to their allies. This is how they kept their companions in line. A sword like this one might have been given by a wealthy leader to a trusted ally, or one whose loyalty wanted to ensure. Okay, it's a little bit old, and this is meant to be a Viking sword in good condition. That doesn't look in very good condition, but that's what it says. I like the fact it says in good condition. Tells you their weapons are very crude. More crude than I thought, to be honest. I was expecting a bit more refined. Especially for good condition. So they used bribery as a way of keeping people on side, basically. Right.
Thorstein! You've been far from our shores, but never my thoughts.
We've now unlocked Chalbert as well. I think we unlocked Basim earlier as well. Right, this is Harold. Let's speak to Harold and see what he says.
There's something I must say, my Jarl.
So formal. Did the crossing scour our friendship from your mind?
It did not. It's only by friendship that I am brave enough to speak.
Tell me then. I'm listening.
I tire of raiding Harold. I want to settle where there's rich, dark soil for the taking. I want to make a place of our own where I can live out my days with my wife.
You're young yet, my friend. Plenty of time to grow old with a bouncing infant on each knee.
No, my Jarl. I've delayed too long already. Today I search for a ship.
I have none to spare.
Then I shall purchase one.
Commission, perhaps. I hope this folly of yours can withstand a year's wait.
If that is what it takes. It is no slight to you, my Jarl. My love for you has not waned, but my love for my wife only grows stronger with each absence. I hope you will bless my journey in time.
Go.
So I wouldn't say Harold is particularly happy about Thorstein wanting to leave and go on off on his own with his wife. It kind of seems like he's not keen, which Thorstein did think that was going to be the case, to be honest. Chalbert is loved by everyone. I still hate Ivor Ragnarsson. Yeah, Chalbert was a lovely character. One that he's very young and naive, and you kind of see Ivor grow attached to him, and obviously Ivor does bad things to him. But I think that makes people like Chalbert more because of what happened to him. I think without that, people may not have got him as much as they do. Maybe that, if that makes sense. God of War 3 is actually really good. Oh, really? Gaming? Oh, nice. I've got to do the God of War games. We've got a massive long list. I've got to do God of War at some point. I've got Genshin Impact that Cass and Keller have been telling me to start at some point. We'll have to do Guardians of the Galaxy Tuesday evening, 9 PM. We start Guardians of the Galaxy. Are you noticing the current evolution in humans? More and more people looking more attractive year by year. You feel like in the future ugly won't exist anymore. I disagree. I think you're wrong in that. Only because, yeah, humans are evolving. There are certain things changing in human evolution and DNA. But I disagree that everyone's getting attractive. I think that's a matter of... Maybe it's a matter of where you live. I don't know. But I don't think humans evolve in that way. I think the stereotype of attractiveness in magazines and TV and stuff is too far. And that's the problem these days with young girls wanting to look a certain way. So I think that has its own issues. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree that by evolution people are more attractive. But I think this feeling of wanting to be attractive is an issue in itself. If that makes sense. You never got to have PS3. PS3 was amazing. You completed the game in one day. Wow, gaming. You really got into that, didn't you? Okay, so King Harold Fairhair. So this is the King Harold. We followed him for 5 years, raiding with him. He exiled the guy that tried to frame us, and we just asked him that we wanted to leave. So let's learn a little bit more about him. So King Harold Fairhair was well known for his beautiful blonde locks, but it was his ambition that kept his name alive for centuries. In 872 CE, he might have become the first man to control the longest disputed sailing route, the North Way. So the history of King Harold Fairhair is as fabulous as it is dubious. Facts and myths are very much entwined in the accounts about his life. There is still a lot of work to do to sort potentially accurate raw materials from confused assertions and elaborate exaggerations. Since it's impossible to know exactly what Harold looked like, the development team of Assassin's Creed Valhalla used their imagination to create his image in the game. Here is the result of their work. So the character, King Harold, who we do actually meet in game, they don't know what King Harold actually looked like. So this is what they believe he looked like, based on myths, legends, and some facts, because of the way Vikings left things talking about their ancestors and things like that. So there would have been some family monuments that would have talked about Harold, especially if he did do this big trade route and took over it. You mentioned philosophical conversations. The best way to get to know a person is through meaningful conversations based on choices and philosophy and psychological... Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. That is the best way to get to know someone. Same way how games test you based on choice you make. Exactly. You're not really a person of small talk. I guessed that one, Cass. And the graphics for the remastered good. Oh, that's cool. I've got to play God of War at some point. We'll have to play film. It's a long list. Good job I'm not getting better anytime soon, man. Answer like I'm fine or I'm good resets the mood off. And you generally walk away and never talk to people like that. Feel that person. Completely. I would rather have a conversation with someone that actually wants to have that conversation. There are times, though, that 1 word or 2 word answers are sufficient. You know, you don't always need to have a whole conversation about something. But at the same time, there's other ways to do things. There's other ways to talk, isn't there? That's the big thing. Right, what do we need to do? We need to update Gunhilda on the situation of Harold. Harold has said we can leave. I think it's through Gritted Teeth. He has said we can if we purchase a ship, but we have to wait a year. So we need to update Gunhilda and let her know what's happening. And we also need to speak to the shipmaster in Valda. I may have said that wrong as well. But let's have a look at the discovery site first. This is the Great Hall. Built from a large lumber and sometimes decorated with ship parts, a Great Hall or Sala was a sight to behold. The Great Hall may have been its own building, like this one pictured here, or a large central room in a chief's longhouse. The hall was at the heart of the community. Deep bonds were created, transformed, and sometimes broken under its roof. The chieftain's house seen in this picture was reconstructed after archaeologists found remains from a 6th to 10th century longhouse, 83 metres long and 9.5 metres wide, making it the longest longhouse ever found. To be honest, I would assume most longhouses just got rotted over time because they're made of wood, aren't they? So to find an actual the remains is going to be quite rare, I would have said. But they are massive, and you see that in game anyway as well. I think the way they make it in game is incredible. People in Hollywood told me you need to be energetic and a conversationalist, then people see how good I was. Secret actor within the program. Definitely not a spy. Don't go around America telling people you're a spy, that would be a bad idea. Okay, so we've got 2 things we need to do, plus discovery sites to visit. Let's have a quick look where we're first. Well, obviously we want to try and do all the discovery sites before we finish the story. Well, it doesn't matter, we can openly explore afterwards, but I've been trying to do them before we finish story. So if we head to this one, this is behind the scenes first. It's just over here. It's really weird not being able to run.
I'd best tell Gunhilda we will have no help from our king.
So although he gave us his blessing through Gritted Teeth, he's not going to help us either, which is a bit weird. But obviously he doesn't want us to leave. You went on a YouTuber named Long-Eared Fox's stream when he was playing Valhalla. One of his best streams was when I started having philosophical conversation with him. Oh yeah. It's because you're just aware of it. It gives you a chance to open up, doesn't it, about how you think. We're preparing for Ragnarok. That does look good. Ragnarok does look good, from what I've seen, little bits about it. I think that's why Assassin's Creed 1 was successful as well, because the deep dialogue between Altair... Yeah, you could be right, to be honest. There was a lot of dialogue. It was setting up the future, wasn't it? Right, this is the bit where I don't talk for a little minute, because this is all about the Longhouse, and our Longhouse in the middle of our settlement, and this is about the behind the scenes towards the Longhouse.
As longhouses were at the centre of Norse communities, it was only natural that they'd be at the forefront of AC Valhalla. Just like any true Viking, Eivor hosts feasts, plans battles, and sleeps in her longhouse. But what about its design? The art direction team first took a scouting trip to Lofoten, Norway, to immerse themselves in the land and bring back references. And chocolate. From these pictures, modelers and artists designed variations of paint patterns, carved animals, frescoes, and so on, for players to enjoy and use to customize their settlement. Anglo-Saxon longhouses, on the other hand, were designed with different materials, such as hay and lime, and less detailed engravings. Can't have them steal the show.
So, they took a scouting trip to Norway to immerse themselves. I think that's amazing. I said on some of the previous things they talked about and what they did to try and get these levels and places to look realistic. You know, the depths they go to design, but also to learn about different cultures and how they are. You've got to think, if this is what they did for this game, all the games before this were probably done in similar ways. They probably visited these places, they talked to historians, they tried to, you know, create these worlds in themselves that were alive, and you can tell that within the Ubisoft games. It's a living world. Each game has its own kind of way of being. I think that's really cool. Ragnarok is an Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah, it's in both. Because you play Odyssey, you learn about Greek gods, which will help in God of War 3, and in Valhalla you learn about Norse gods, which help in God of War 4. Okay. The kind of moving periods is it as well. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the behind the scenes. It's the kind of stuff you don't realise goes on when they make a game. The effort, the work, the time. You know, when they start talking about a possible game and it's 2 years away, you don't really realise how much is going into that. You just see it as 2 years away, but actually the work involved is incredible. Right, I'm trying to get across to there. Ah, there's the door. I was looking for the door. Let's see what this will tell us. This is Alrekstad. Alrekstad near the Bay of Vagan was a great estate on the southwestern Scandinavian coast. King Harold Fairhair likely used it as a base on which to watch over the sailing route of the North Way. The North Way was an important route. Whoever controlled it controlled trade. By the end of the 800s, Alrekstad became the seat of royal power and was the starting point for both commercial and military expeditions. The design of Alrekstad in Assassin's Creed Valhalla was greatly inspired by Briggen, seen here, a historic harbour district in the modern city of Bergen. So it was modelled on that, obviously not colour-wise. That's very colourful houses in this shipping village or town. But that's what it was modelled on. I think that's quite cool. You hate Odyssey. Oh, you know you hate Odyssey, Cass. You don't really like the Greek gods either. Norse gods seem more noble and better. I loved Greek mythology when I was younger. I really enjoyed Greek mythology. But as I'm learning more about Norse gods, there's always that connection, isn't there, between all of them, though. Okay. That discovery site is done. So, we'll do this discovery site, and then I think that's Gunhilda. I'm guessing it's Gunhilda. So we'll do that and that one. And then we'll go and speak to the ship person, and it's a case of clear the harbour, basically. Depending on where it wants us to go next. You do recommend Greek and Norse mythology. Commend Greek. Oh no, they don't get offended. Oh yeah, we can jump. If I Odyssey, enjoy it for once. Cass will never enjoy Odyssey. There is no way. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Norse Religion. So this will be interesting. Medieval Scandinavian religious expression included day-to-day ritual practices, ancestor worship, rune magic, dream interpretation and more. The Norse believed strongly in fate and destiny. This will be right up your street, Cass. Unlike the Christians, the Vikings did not have a clergy, a select group or institution who presided over religious rituals. People of different ages, genders and backgrounds could officiate Scandinavian ceremonies. Private household worship of ancestors and gods like Thor, whose hammer is pictured in his runestone, was supervised by the head of the family. Public events and rituals would be led by a community's chief or jarl. Didn't tell us as much as I thought it was going to be honest. But yeah, the runestones, that's what I was trying to say earlier. A lot of what we know now about the Norse people back in this time period is because of the runestones and what they put on them to depict their lives. And we learn in episode 1, the first chapter, we learn about when someone died, they tried to memorialise them in a runestone of their life. Which is probably why we know so much. You once got drunk and played Odyssey on stream with my mic on. All I did was yell in pain and kept cussing at the game as I played it. You platinumed it. You never does this game. Fair enough. I'm impressed you platinumed it. I didn't think you would. To hate the game so much to platinum it is incredible. Why is there someone to talk to here? Okay. I don't know who we can talk to these people. Let's have a look what they're going to say.
Keeping those hands of yours busy.
Huh, they'll be ready to tie knots in the worst winter storms, I swear.
Quick conversation that was. I was expecting a little bit more,
And
but
they're
okay.
going to bring it all the way from Ekondersund?
Okay, so this is about the clan. This is something new as it's come up separately. So several households could come together to form a clan or ayat. These bonds could be cemented by blood relations, marriage, or by an oath made during a legal assembly. Genshin Impact is so much like Odyssey, but right in every single way, and I had a far better time playing it. I'm not into anime either gaming, to be honest, but I've seen Keller play it, and to be fair, I'm interested. Extremely interested because of the way it plays. Combat's really interesting as well, and the RPG nature. But yeah, I'm definitely not one for anime, but I think you guys have definitely encouraged me to try games that I wouldn't normally look at. So I'm willing to give it a go and see what happens. I think looking at what I've seen, I think I'll enjoy it. I think you guys will enjoy it as well, to be honest. And the fact that always adding more to it as well is always a good thing for free. Obviously there is a pay element, but other than that it is free. So it'll be something we'll look at. We're going to end up with quite a few games on the go. This week of doing evening streams, most of the week is going to really test me in terms of how I can manage. And if I can, we'll go back to doing a lot more evening streams. And we'll have a lot more gaming time, hopefully. Anime is made by Japanese, but Genshin Impact is made by a Chinese company. You should give it another go gaming. You should. And if you get to a certain level, you can actually play with other people, which is quite cool. Okay, the clan. The name of an ayat would often be constructed by putting together the name of a notorious forefather, sometimes even a god, with the suffix ing, or pronounced ra, or r. I think that's r, which evoked a sense of social belonging. Some clans had as many as 100 individual members on whom they could rely in times of peace or war. Pictured here is a clan made up of members of the Assassin's Creed Valhalla development team. They are feasting with reenactors from the Lotte Museum in Lofotun, Norway. So this is some of the development team who made Valhalla with reenactors from the museum. That's really cool. This is what a Viking feast would have looked like. This is reconstructed. There's people from the development team plus reenactors from Norway. And this is what a Viking feast would have looked like, they believe, through different historical references. You do keep the chat moving, Cass. Absolutely, you should keep the chat moving. It's never a bad thing. Right, that's the clan.
My parents have never
so this is Gunhilda. We'll speak to her in a second. Let's speak to whoever this is.
Ula, it's been a
This
long
is
time.
Ula.
It has. Time has hardened.
Vapes versus cigarettes. See, I vape.
Has me.
My parents have never
I
traveled farther
vaped
than
for over 6
and
years
they
now.
complained about the food the whole
I smoked
time.
when I was in the army.
Have you told them of your plans
Mainly
to
because it was
sail
encouraged.
west?
It's really
Not
weird,
yet.
but they encourage you to
They've
smoke
woven
because they give you
sails
time
with
to yourself.
Thorstein before.
And
No need for them to know that this
when
time
my
will
little
be any
boy
different.
was
Not until
not
all
born
our
yet, but
hard
nearly
work
born,
has paid off.
my other half gave me an ultimatum. She said, quit smoking and hold your child, or don't quit smoking and don't hold your child. So I thought I was clever and started vaping instead. And I've not touched a cigarette since. And I'm more than happy vaping. It saves a lot of money. But I don't vape. I vape more now I'm hurt, honestly. If I'm busy from gaming, I don't vape as much. If my hands are busy, I don't use my vapes as much. But I still use it as a way of me time. You know, when I was at work and I needed to chill out, I go and have a vape outside, and that's what it is for me. It's still, that army influence is still there, where I still see it as it's a me time thing, just to get away from people. But yeah, so I vape. So vapes, I believe, are better, but on the other hand, we don't know the long-term side effects, admittedly. But it can't be any worse, surely. Right, let's speak to Gunhilda and let her know what Harold said.
How did it go with Harold?
Harold will not stand in our way, but neither will he help us.
Oh, at least he could give you his blessing.
He did not.
Oh, my love. He will come around. His love for you flows deep, but its pull is as strong as the tides.
I see you've made good on your promise to find us traveling companions at least.
This group of good-for-nothings? They're only here as ballast.
Ah, then finer ballast I've never seen.
Ballast is used to balance a
It's a good
ship.
start, but we will need more
That's,
men.
that's one way of
And the
describing people.
navigator. I know. I've gathered a list of names already.
Ah, my lady Stjarna.
Okay, we need to talk to the shipmaster to kind of buy the ship, as that's going to be a very important part of this journey. Gunhiller sounds like Gunnar's aunt, not quite Gunhilda, but close. But interesting. So they're going to take other people with them. She seemed disappointed that Harold didn't give us his blessing, but by what we've heard so far, it seemed like Thorstein has kind of created this legend when on the raids. He's been this fighter that sounds like he's been out the front. I wouldn't really look at him and go he's much of a fighter, but it seems like he's kind of created reputation during the raids, or so it seems. Right, we'll do this one and then we'll head down to the ship builder over there. You think vaping is really bad? It makes you feel good and you get away from the others, but there are other ways to do that, if you know what I mean. I know what you're saying, I do completely, but you got to think, I started smoking when I joined the army many years ago, and I don't want to stop, if that makes sense. I've never had a reason to. I know the downsides. I vape instead, and it is better for you in some regard. It's still going to have its downsides, but I've never had a reason to stop. That's the thing. But I don't touch cigarettes anymore and haven't done for 6+ years. So it's kind of worked in one way. But I do get what you mean. Your vape juice finished a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's never good. Right, the hull and the mast. We're going to learn about longships. The longship was fashioned with several different kinds of wood. The quantity of lumber determined where it was used in the ship. The hull of a longship was mostly made from a hardwood tree, chosen for its solidity. The hardwood was carefully split along the grain of an axe to make the boards flexible. The mast of the longship was made from softwood, which offered not only flexibility but length. The trees used in building longships varied according to region. For example, oak trees were common in Denmark and were likely fashioned into longships. In Norway, ash or pine trees would have been used instead. This reconstructed ceremonial longship offers an excellent example of a typical hull and mast. I will say, while this is showing us this, that one thing I picked up on very early in Valhalla, and one thing I really enjoyed, was when you went under bridges, the mast would come down. And it was just a little extra attention to detail I really liked. It's not really small, but I really liked that. Okay. Do we think Thorstein has the money to buy a ship? Because I don't. So this will be an interesting conversation in a second. We have got one of these first. Another discovery. Let's have a look. This is the sail. The sail was an iconic feature of a Viking longship. Often crafted by the women of the clan, they were made from wadmal, coarse and dense wool. I'd never heard of wadmal before. Sails were felted to make the material more resistant and waterproof. I understand why you vape, which is fine, but it's much better to get through life head on, even if bad things happen, you keep going. Absolutely, completely agree with you, gaming. At the end of the day, people have their vices, and people use some vices as a form of escapism. You know, alcohol, drugs, and that kind of thing. And yes, you're completely right. It's better to go through life and try and deal with them issues rather than use something else to try and get yourself away from them. I get that completely, but at the same time, some people don't use them to get away from things. They use it because they want to. That makes sense. But I do get what you're saying. Do you believe in destiny? As you know, but a person who is 100% accurate predictions believes I will get married in 7 years. That's so weird because it's always so accurate. But you don't know when it's going to change. I know you're philophobic, and I get that, but all it could take is one person to change your outlook, to change your phobia, to change you. And it'll be when you're least expecting it, when you're not even looking, it's more than likely the time it happens. And that is destiny in a way. Right, the sail. The Scandinavians first began to use sails on their ships in the 7th or 8th century. But once they relied solely on oars to move the ships across the water, they now introduced the famous squared sail depicted on this runestone. There were several possible reasons for the addition of sails. Their introduction may be linked to the increase in wealth and land among Scandinavians. A person would need a lot of wadmal wool to make a sail. This meant they would need a lot of sheep, and possibly land for grazing. Therefore, those who owned sails likely had access to a lot of wealth and land. So that makes sense. So they used to use longships with just oars, no sails, but once the Vikings spread further, they had more land, they bred more sheep, they had more wool, the wool made the sails. It makes sense. My initial thinking when it said they didn't start off having sails was that they weren't going that far, and they did then go further, but it makes sense. Right, this is the guy who makes boats. Let's see what we need to do, because we're obviously not going to have money. I can't see it.
Imbolder, I need a ship. My wife and I leave for the land across the sea.
Harald won't pay for such a vessel, I'm sure. Did you really fill your pockets that well on your last raid?
I have gold enough to cover the cost.
Wood, sails, and all?
Gunhilda's family will provide the sail. The rest I will purchase.
Ah, you're a lucky man.
I know.
Speak with Skaga for a pine mast, then, and yarn for the nails. Tell him I'll expect him to be on time with his deliveries in the future.
I'll see what I can do.
So it sounds like we're hiring this guy to actually build us a boat. We've got to get a mast from the woodcutter, and we've got to get the nails from Yarn, the blacksmith. Kind of more, not quite what I was expecting, but interesting. And we know what dinosaurs look like, but we have no idea what they sound like. You say we know what they look like. We're still discovering certain things about dinosaurs we didn't know. So some dinosaurs have been depicted as these lizards, and now we're learning that some of them had feathers, which we didn't know they had feathers before. So we don't 100% know these things. People use vapes to hide from their problems, but one day you're going to face them, or people use it for fun, which is up to them. To be honest, I don't use a vape to hide my problems. A vape isn't like that for me. For me, it's not wanting to stop smoking, so a healthier choice. And I don't know, I like it. It's one of those weird things. Chickens are actually modern day dinosaurs. I know what you're saying. You vape for the flavour. Slight buzz. Yeah, I don't do it for the buzz. It's just one of those things. It's just kind of, it's more of a habit now, I think, than anything else. Right, we have another behind the scenes. This is creating Ivor's longships. This is the longship in the game, and this is how they created it. Don't get seasick on this masterpiece.
Now, you can't make a Viking game without an awesome longship. It's the law. After all, Norsemen are renowned for their boat-building craftsmanship to this day. To do it justice, modelers in Montreal built the dimensions and shapes, while artists in Singapore created 48 different variations of longboats with stunning designs inspired by Norse mythology. The outcome speaks for itself. A slick, clinker-built hull for hydrodynamism, shallow keels to sail in low waters, and even a removable mast to pass under bridges. Now set sail, and may you have fair winds and following seas. Don't forget your sandwiches.
I love Sean. I think Sean is probably the best character in the whole Assassin's Creed franchise, and he gains so much more respect as time goes on. So yeah, they designed so many different concept designs of boats, longships. So the sail moving is intended for it to go down when you go underneath bridges. I think that's a fantastic addition. And the design of them is amazing. It's hard to explain because there's so many reasons why people make. There is, completely. And yeah, it is addictive as well. Agreed. That's the thing. Crystal Burrison did it as well. At first, I was disappointed every time I learned how to do it properly. I started enjoying it. Some people do it because they enjoy it, some people do it for different reasons, admittedly. I do it because it's better than smoking. And my other half gave me an ultimatum. What I'm going to quickly do, I am going to save it. We haven't saved the whole time. And we know from previous that Valhalla can crash. So I just had a quick thing. I saw the autosave pot kick in. I thought, let's quickly save the game. Right, we're going to head to this discovery site. What's this one going to tell us? This is the figureheads. This is about the figureheads on the longships. This is going to be, should be, really interesting. Some of these I'm finding are a little bit shorter than what they probably could be. They're not as detailed in terms of explaining things as it probably could be. It's still very interesting, just not as detailed as I was expecting, to be honest. But Scandinavian ships were famous for their figureheads. Found at the prow, the carved heads meticulously crafted from a single piece of wood. It is some craftsmanship for how they make these. Figureheads, as seen here, were often sculpted into wild animals or monsters. They were not just decorations. They were intended to frighten the protected spirits or land better of hostile territories. When the Vikings wanted to ensure a successful military or commercial expedition, they showed the ship's figurehead as they drew near the shore, to intimidate the landvatter of their rivals and enemies. When they were visiting a friendly territory, the Vikings did not want to offend or frighten local spirits. On these occasions, they would remove the figurehead from the prow for a less threatening arrival. So I didn't realise they were removable. So when they were visiting friends, they would remove the figurehead off the longship. But when they wanted to go to new lands or raid somewhere, they would put it on as a way of scaring the spirits of that land, but also the people there. And to be fair, that's what we know about the Vikings, isn't it, really? I think that's really cool. Nothing to you feels addictive so far besides Pepsi. Yeah, next thing Pepsi gets going to stop last year. I bet stopping felt great, to be fair. I bet it took some time, though. My friends vape were very young, they asked me to do it, so no. To be honest, if you don't smoke, don't vape, is always my thing, because there's no point. One replaces the other. Punjabis, like Indian people, are actually very similar to Irish people. Really? Don't fear for their addiction, as long as they aren't doing drugs which damage them mentally, it should be fine. Cass has got a good point. Okay. So we've got 2 people we need to visit. What time are we on? I haven't even looked at time. Wow, okay. We've got another half an hour, so okay. What I'm thinking, we've got purchase building materials land. What I'm thinking, let's clear all the dots, and then we'll do the story, is my thinking. I don't want to leave too much story and no dots. I'd rather do all the dots on the way, and I'm thinking if we kind of do this in a kind of set way, we can actually get this done in a circle. It's my thinking. There ain't nothing on one of Steve's Christians. He did. It was a fun fact stream. It was very interesting and enlightening, to be honest. I don't mind. It's all good to me. I've always said, even if the conversation isn't about the game we're playing, I'm all happy. You know, I'm more than happy to talk and chat. One of the reasons I don't really want to get to 1,000 subscribers, because I never actually play a game, because I'd be constantly reading the chat. I'm happy at, the level we're at, to be fair. Astral projection, I have heard of astral projection, yes. And you're going to tell me what it means, aren't you, in a second? No, I can't remember, but I've heard of it. I've heard of it the other day as well. I don't know why I did, but I did. It's the projection of... Isn't it the projection of space? I could be wrong. I know what it is, I just can't think, but I think I might be right. Curing fish. So the Vikings cured fish. I can guarantee the reason for this was to make the fish stay fresh for longer. They cured it so it would last longer on their voyages, because they didn't have fridges. Obviously. While it's true that Scandinavians were renowned warriors and merchants, they were first and foremost sailors and fishermen. Most of their food came from the sea. Fish, or fiska, was mostly consumed after it was dried. To dry a fish, one simply placed the catch of the day on a wooden frame and let the sun and fresh air do the rest. By the end of the day, the fish would be dried and ready to eat. It's incredible, isn't it? Something so simple was a way of preserving this fresh meat for them to eat. And they would literally just hang it up. Simple. I once tried an astral project and it went wrong. I accidentally learned how to time skip. I had to sleep at will. I can literally sleep and wake up whenever I want to, just to skip time. Did you feel like you had some useful accident? Yeah, sounds like you did. Okay, there's another one here. So yeah, I know Vikings were fishermen originally. And that was their primary source of food. Keller is definitely someone who doesn't like fish in Valhalla, as it took him a long time to find them all. He wasn't so keen on being a fisherman. So blessing the ship, just as one might refer to a project as one's baby, to build a boat was akin to having a child. After construction finished, the ship was richly named and blessed. The keel, pictured here, was the backbone of the ship. According to legend, there was a christening ritual for boats called blooding the keel, term seems to hint at some kind of human or animal sacrifice to please the gods. However, it was likely just a metaphor. Metaphors and similes were often found in Norse poetry and legends. Blood in the kill may have meant getting the ship's feet wet or putting her into the water. That's quite interesting, the way that people have perceived what the Vikings have written and depicted on stones and runestones and things. They took it as bloodening the kill, but it could actually just have been put in the water. But it's how we see these things. That's the big thing. By the way, how was your experience in the army? Parents wanted to join the army years ago, but I wanted to pursue a life in performance rather than a life in the army. I loved it. I never wanted to leave. I loved my time in the army. But it is what it is. I don't have regret. And it ended because I got hurt. And it is what it is. I met some incredible people, saw some incredible things, saw some not so nice things. But it was definitely an experience. And I wouldn't encourage people to join up now, mainly because of the way the world's changing. But I joined up when things weren't as bad as they are now, if that makes sense. So it's probably the one subject I don't talk about very often. And it's more because, in my mind, people don't understand. I've gained is the wrong word, but I've got issues from my time in the army, like PTSD and stuff, that I deal with on a daily basis. But that's not why I don't want to encourage anyone else to join the army. I just think I wanted to do it from a very young age. I wanted to join the army from the age of 11. So for me, the army was always the forefront of everything I did when I was younger. And I think encouraging people into something that is completely different now is wrong, as I don't have the experience of it being as it is now, and that's the difference, I think. Does army training help you a lot physically? Later in life, does it make you tougher? I believe it makes you mentally tougher, massively, because of the things you're trained and the way you're trained. Physically, yes. As long as the same as anything, you put your all into something, you'll get all of it back. I don't think I would be. I can't say I'm fit and healthy now, obviously, as I can't walk and that kind of stuff properly. But before the accident, yes, absolutely. And the lessons it teaches you, the life lessons, the physical side of things doesn't leave you. But the downside to that is there's some inherent traits that are now ingrained that I can't get away from. So I walk into a building or a room I don't know. I scan every exit before I've even gone through the door properly. I will know every exit. And it's some of these inherent things that you've just so ingrained you do without even thinking. And that's an issue. It's not a good thing. But it's not a bad thing in some ways as well. But it's like anything. You put it all into it, you get a lot back. But I think it does make you definitely mentally tougher. Okay, the longship contributed enormously to the social and commercial expansion of the medieval Scandinavian peoples. Its construction itself was a technical marvel. To build a longship, one first added the keel, the backbone of the ship, to the hull. The hull was a clinker built, its planks overlapped each other like fish scales. The boards were fastened together on metal rivets, then chalked by hemp and horsehair soaked in tar. This ensured that the water would not soak through the hull in the middle of the voyage. Next, the mast was attached to the hull by a fish-shaped piece of wood. This ensured that the sail along the mast did not resist the wind, but moved with it. This adaptability, when coupled with the flexibility of the ship's hull, made the longship elastic. Rather than splitting the waves, it slithered through them. That's definitely one hell of a design, isn't it? To have that knowledge in this time period, to develop a boat that doesn't try and cut through the waves, just gracefully slides through, I think that's really cool. Oh, it is useful in some situations, admittedly, but it's also a bad thing because you don't relax straight away when you walk into somewhere new, which obviously is an issue sometimes. But yeah, I definitely say I've got more good than bad from my experience, to be honest. Right, so that one's done. There is one more here, and then we'll head back. We'll go here to grab building materials, but also go get these couple of other bits, and then we should have grabbed, I think that's all of Discovery 1's done after that, and then it's just a case of story. And we should finish chapter 3 today, I would hope. But we don't know how long it's going to be. But we'll grab this one first. Even the bird sounds. So, ships between two worlds. This is religion and magic. The relationship between sailors and the ships was special and emotionally weighted, much like the bond between a horse and its rider. More than mere tools to transport, ships represented gateways between worlds. They were so looked after, these ships. They meant so much to the people. Ancient Scandinavians believed that ships straddled two different worlds, for they were built on land but lived at sea. Symbolically, to sail was to have a foot in two worlds, not just land and sea, but also life and death. To be on a ship was to be in a liminal, in-between space between life and afterlife. Ships, whether wooden or stone, symbolised transition. This is likely why they figured heavily in Scandinavian burial rituals since the Bronze Age. So we have seen, or I've seen previously, I can't think it was in game, but where when someone dies, they will put them on a boat, cast them out to sea, fire, arrow. They take their boat to their grave, kind of thing. And that's why, because they believed that a boat was between the life and afterlife, and if you was on that, that's how you would get across. The concept of respect everyone you meet is very good, since we all have our own stories in life and where we come from. Exactly. The only people you won't respect are Ubisoft Quebec employees. I knew you was going to bring that into it. No, it is. I think it's like anything, though, isn't it? There's we've just unlocked Stow as a character as well now. There is that. I want to say it's a religion. I think it is a religious thing, isn't it? I think it's in the Bible actually. Treat everyone how you want to be treated yourself, something along those lines. And I think that's inherently true. The better you treat people around you, the better you will be treated. And I'm not religious, but I still think that stands true to this day. Right, we've got two more things to do here, and then we can carry on just with the story missions and go from there. I feel like when you turn old, I'll be the most lecturing and boring old wise man around and try to enjoy my youth the first. Absolutely. You've got to enjoy your life. That's the thing. So taboos on the high sea. So these are the things they weren't meant to do, supposedly. The sailor's world was filled with taboos. Topics or behaviours considered offensive or profane that could bring bad luck to a sea voyage. It's not what I was expecting, but this is things that may bring bad luck to a voyage. So a good way to ward off bad luck on expedition was to be familiar with all the taboos before setting sail. Along with other their maritime skills, lessons about taboos are passed from father to son, from fisherman to fisherman. Those bold or foolish enough to ignore their elders' warnings and risk the wrath of the gods could end their journey, much like this unfortunate crew. I thought they were going to actually tell us that. This is my only criticism of this Discovery tour so far, is I think some of the bits, there's not enough information. So just then, that should have told us some of the taboos, an example of a taboo, something you shouldn't have done that could potentially endanger the crew because that's what they believed in. But there wasn't any of that. And I think some of the facts are missing a little bit. I don't know, some of them I just wish there was more information. Because they kind of grab you with a little snippet, and I just want to know a bit more. Okay, this is behind the scenes, so I can stop talking for a minute. Safe and sound, beware of the noise traps.
Creating an immersive world also includes the sounds triggered when Eivor interacts with her or his surroundings. Shown here are coloured surfaces that play a specific sound when the player walks on them. Yes, every item with sound and animation is labelled in the game's engine. A brown square indicates a wooden sound, probably because wood is brown, I'm not sure, while yellow squares signal a fabric-like sound. When the player walks on or touches one of these hidden squares, the noise it's linked to triggers automatically. But there's another side to this coin, and it's a sinister one. With this system, developers were also able to create noise traps that can reveal the player's presence to nearby enemies.
So, in my eyes, there was a bit of criticism from people. We haven't experienced it massively, but in Valhalla you were seen very easily by the enemy. In older Assassin's Creed games we weren't seen that easily at all, to the point it was ridiculous. In Assassin's Creed 3, for example, when we live streamed that, we could walk up to a group of people, assassinate them all, and no one would bat an eyelid. But in Valhalla you felt like you couldn't do that, but it was because of the sounds. And it was never explained that was what caused it. But I've got a feeling that NPCs are connected to the sound. So if you walk or run when you shouldn't be, and you're near enemies, they're going to pick up on that sound. So a noise trap. But that depth is incredible. As a person who speaks English as a first language, what's your thoughts about the entire world learning English as a second language? I think English is I think you're right. English is the most spoken language. I don't know if it's the most written, though. That's the thing. I don't really know enough about it, to be fair. I think it's nice when other people speak English when you're in different countries, but at the same time, I still think if you speak a different language to the country you're in, you should try and speak their language to a degree. I found in Germany some of the people were a lot more appreciative that I tried to speak German. Badly, but I tried. And that did help. So I think, although knowing English is good because I think it's the most spoken language in the world, I don't know for sure. I think learning it's a good thing. I don't think everyone should be taught it generically, because then you're then forcing it on people. But I also think if you're in a different country, you should be trying their language. Is Sean giving Discovery Tour to Bassam? No, not that we're aware of, because we're different characters. I just love the way Sean gives Discovery Tour to. How a person could have English as a first language. Yeah, but then it's the same as me. I know people that can speak 8 languages. 8 languages. And they can switch between all of them simultaneously. And I can't comprehend how that works. When I meet people like yourself and Keller who had to learn English, it's not a native language for you, and I meet people like that and they can switch, I can't understand it. I don't understand. My brain can't comprehend how they can do that. For me, because I'm English is it. I can speak bits and pieces of some languages, but to learn English for me now would be really weird, if you know what I mean. To have it as a foreign language and learn it, I just don't see how it works, because I know from learning as a child, growing up, English reading and writing, that there are so many pitfalls and traps within the English language. So to learn it, I think, is probably harder than some languages. Not all. Chinese, Mandarin, probably the hardest ones to learn. But at the same time, it's just one of those weird things. But I do massively respect people that can switch between languages, because I think them people are incredible. Right, we've done all the behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure we've done all the Discovery Tours. We have. So story time now. Let's go and buy the bits we need for the boat. This is the blacksmith, I want to say. Yes, it is. So we need nails from the blacksmith. Are you looking for something? We are indeed. You can speak 2 languages fluently, but understand a total of 4 to 5. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear and read German better than I can speak it.
Of course he did. He tried those nails from Avaldsnes, and I bet they fell apart in the salt water. I use nothing but pure iron, which is why he hates my prices. But at least you won't find yourself suddenly sailing in a bucket full of holes. Head inside the shop. You can take a box from the stack against the back wall. But tell him he'll have to pay up front if he wants more.
I'm the one funding the construction of this ship. You will be paid in full.
I have no doubt. Eventually. Imbaldir makes ships that sing on the ocean waves. But mundane thoughts of silver and debt never seem to enter his mind. Don't worry, I'll talk to him. Go get your nails.
So the guy that makes the ships focuses on the shipbuilding more than paying the suppliers. Sounds about right. Okay, we have our box of names. We've got to take this to the shipyard, I believe, before we can go and get our sail. I've got a feeling we'll have to carry the sail. So we'll drop this off first, then we'll go and get the sail, I think. Seems to be a good plan. We really want to learn Spanish next. You're also influenced by Japanese culture, so I'd love to learn Japanese. I think they're the kind of language that scare the hell out of me in terms of learning them. I think this looks so difficult. I wouldn't say they forced me to learn German, but like I said before, you were treated second class as an English person, so you gained respect by trying to speak German, even if it wasn't fantastic, but even trying helped. So that's one of the big reasons I tried to learn it, but I can read it and listen to it and hear it and understand it better than I can speak it. But I've always been that way with languages.
Thorstein, what brings you to my yard?
I can always read and listen to languages more than I can say them.
Imvolder sent me.
Oak or pine?
I'm sorry, what?
New to shipbuilding, are you? Come with me. You'll learn better.
She's going to teach us about shipbuilding. We're going to learn shipbuilding now. Okay. I'm interested in what we're going to learn here. Here's an axe. Interact. We're going to cut the wood ourselves.
Use that axe to remove the bark from this log. Underneath you will find silken pine, flexible and light, that will bend in the wind. Perfect for a mast. Once you have a sense of the wood, come find me and I will show you another.
Okay, that's their first lesson in shipbuilding done. So for the mast, they've got a pine log and they strip the bark off to make it nice and smooth. Okay, we need to speak to her again, she said, didn't she? Where's she gone this time? She's over. I think this is here. Alright, what are we going to do this time? She was hammering it, weren't she? I think that's what we're going to do next.
Tapping the wedges gently. We want this log to split as
Ah,
straight
so
as possible.
obviously one whole
that
log.
way we will have long, hard boards of oak for the hull of your ship to protect you and your fellow. I'll wait for you over there.
So they put wedges into the bottom of the log, or one end of the log. They hammer them in, slowly. And this to split the log evenly. And as it's hammering it, you can just hear the log splitting. Right, what do we hear? I'm assuming this is cutting the wood to size.
Planing the wood ensures a tight fit
Planing.
between the boards,
Oh, close.
leaving no gaps or knots that might give way in the middle of the sea. The smoother the joints, the smoother your journey.
So we've learnt shipbuilding now. Will she give us a mast?
Which type of wood did Imvolder send you for?
I don't know. I need... Well, you wanted a mast, didn't you? I need pine for a mast.
Pine for a mast.
I'll send you new mast to the shipyard as soon as it's ready.
I'm pretty sure it was... Yeah, it was. We've already purchased the building materials, but for some reason I don't think I put them in the right place. And that could be why it's not showing up. If she's going to deliver us our mast for us, we're going to pick her nails back up. Hopefully put them in the right place. One thing that Ubisoft not sure does bad, not animate the dialogue during side quests. It's only one good thing that Ubisoft Quebec got right. Have you heard about the Assassin's Creed Sisterhood movement? No, not at all. You're not stressing me out. It's not distracting me. It's fine. That's why I like this story-driven games though, because you can interact with the chat more than anything else. You can just stop for a second, chat, carry on again. It kind of helps. But no, I haven't heard of the Assassin's Creed Sisterhood, to be fair.
Finally you return.
Is he really complaining about how long it takes?
There's one last step to take. Come with me. Which animal would you like best for your prow?
Oh.
I have 3 available, so you can choose the spirit that suits your intentions.
We're going to be able to
You
pick
will
a
also need to
spirit.
bring me a blessed charm to put inside the prow. But I won't need it for many months yet. Take a look and let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. We're just going to have a quick look at the learning part, and then we're going to have to pick what we want on our longship. Or on Thorstein's longship. It's ours, but his. You know what I mean? So this is the elk, or elga. In ancient Scandinavian culture, the elk was a wild and noble animal. The elk was linked to the supernatural and populated many legends. The elk's antlers both resembled tree branches and were symbolically connected to them, just like leaves. The elk's antlers would fall each autumn only to be reborn the following spring. This association with the cycle of life has also appeared in Algis, the rune of life, nicknamed the rune of the elk. Legendary among elks was Elk-Thynor, a magnificent beast that stood on top of Valhalla, Odin's hall that housed the glorious dead. Waterfalls and rivers were born from his impressive antlers. Elks and other curvids, I think they say curvids, like reindeer, commanded us a lot of respect and spiritual reverence from those who had lived long before the Viking Age, as this Neolithic engraving shows. So even before the Vikings, other people that came before the Vikings still believed these animals, like elk, and reindeer and things like that, they demanded a massive amount of respect as these noble animals. Oh yes, I do know what it is now. Yes, it's the female employees. Yeah, now you've said it, I do remember. I remember reading about it, I think. Right, we need to pick the symbol. Okay, we've got another one now. So this is actually teaching us, I think, about the different crests we can have on our boat. We've looked at the elk. This is the snake, or orma. In ancient Scandinavia, snakes, along with other legless creatures, were not considered to be animals. Rather, they were seen as their own category of beings. Snakes were well presented in Scandinavian magical, mythical and spiritual beliefs. They were often associated with depths. Under the ground was Nidhogg, a snake that strove to devour the roots of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree. Under the sea was Jörmungand, the Midgard snake which, biting its own tail, encircled the ocean until the day it would release the waters, beginning Ragnarok. It was not uncommon for these monstrous snakes to pass into legend as dragons. Snakes are among the most popular creatures depicted in Scandinavian art, as seen on this runestone. So snakes were the one they used more for art then. But also seen as the snake was known to hold Ragnarok at bay until one day it would release the water. It's one of the main reasons why I can get. So if Ubisoft show they have care about their audience. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I know what you're getting at. Yeah. They can have this tattoo. I think there's their way of trying to placate the situation, which isn't really the way to do it, is it? That's the big thing. Assassin's Creed Unity, Valhalla, all run on the same engine. The previous Assassin's Creed games were on a different engine. I didn't know Unity was on the same one as Valhalla, to be fair. So, we're looking at the horse, or Hester. Since its domestication, the horse has been an essential companion of human beings, a source of pride and prestige among medieval Scandinavians. The horse was a loyal creature that demanded respect. Horses were known for transporting people and goods. Scandinavians also granted them the power to move between the worlds of the living and the dead. Sleipnir, the Mount of Odin, could carry the All-Father between worlds. This is why in skaldic poetry connections were drawn between horses and boats, which also represented gateways between worlds. Horses were occasionally depicted on runestones as a mount for warriors, divine or human, much like on the runestone depicted here. A Holstein engraving raised by four men named Bjorn, Vebjorn, Hafni, and Ketilbjorn, in memory of their father, Guybjorn. It's a lot of Bjorns. That's quite cool. So each animal had a different reason. And the reason we're learning these is we now have to pick which one we want. So we have the elk. We can have the elk as our longship. Or we can go over here. And we can have the horse. I was double checking it was a horse, not a snake. Or we can have the snake. So the horse was to travel. Snake was a guardian. And this is wise, I would have said. If you kind of think of it from that point of view, I think the elk is wise. Horse is for travelling. I think we should go with the elk. I don't know why, I just kind of like the elk, I think.
Tell me about the elk.
The elk is associated with the cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
And now it's at a new beginning.
In distant lands,
yeah.
It could be quite fitting. Is
that's,
this the prow
yes, that's the one I want. We're gonna choose that one. I think that works really well. Actually, let's have them quickly tell us a little about all of them, just in case it says roughly the same thing. I'm leaning towards the elk.
Tell me about the horse.
The horse?
It's smart seems to move to Mars.
But you can count on it to lead you quickly to port, with the proper ritual precautions, of course.
Yeah, so the horse isn't really going to help us, I don't think.
Take your time.
Let's have a look at the snake.
Tell me about the serpent.
The snake-headed prow will ensure you dominate the waves with disconcerting ease and great stability. Is this the prow you want?
I think we'll go back to the elk.
I'm not sure.
Take your time.
The horse was definitely made the horse seem bad. It was really weird.
Tell me about the elk.
Do you think this I think like anything, I think we need to fix this planet before we go and ruin another one. That's more my thinking on it, is Why
this
move
the
to a different
proud
planet
you
to ruin
want?
that one when we've ruined this one? Let's fix this one first.
Yes.
Excellent. Then we can get started.
Cool. We've picked our emblem of our journey.
Bless us on our journey to new lands and a new home.
Thorstein.
Yes, my Jarl.
I was childish before. In my joy at seeing you home, I wasn't ready to discuss your departure again so soon. Nor see you gone for good. Please, accept this with my blessing.
Unjo, the rune of kinship.
And why not?
Oh,
no
wow.
man has been a truer brother to me than you.
Harold has given
It
us
has been an
the
honor to
bracelet
have you in my Fielag, even if this leg of the trip will be shorter.
that says we're family. That's a big move. That's a bold move. And you can see that means a lot to Thorstein. Considering he didn't really think he gave his blessing. 7 months later. See the Aurora Borealis in the background? Finger space a lot. You think it's weird everything just died. No one really knows. Yeah, I know obviously Big Bang is one theory. You've got the religion theories as well. But yeah, it's weird, but it's not. Because that's what we know. Thorstein looks like a B-Tech rip-off version of Ivor's father. I don't think he does. I think he looks nothing like him. Harold looks like a blonde Jesus. They did say earlier, Harold, they didn't have any pictures of him. They've kind of made it to look like this character that was depicted on Runestones, but from their own minds. It's not based on a real person as such, because there's no way of knowing what he looked like. There's obviously depictions of his hair and stuff, but that's about it.
Take you swiftly to soft lands and great riches.
May your name never be forgotten.
And this is Thorstein. He's leaving behind his Jarl. This is a big step for Thorstein. We've got some people to talk to. 4 people. How interesting are these going to be?
Treat her well, Thorstein.
Oh, my wife will make sure of it. I've never seen a woman more in love with a boat.
And I've never seen so fine a sail. If you ever return, I will have work for her.
There's no sail up at the
And
minute.
I can apprentice myself to Skaga. A sound plan.
I was looking for the sail, but it's actually up in the air yet.
You still owe me for that last box of nails.
The blacksmith wants his money.
Imvolder told me he paid.
I'm just playing with you. Be well, Thorstein.
And you.
Did I look at the year 536?
I shall miss your
I
scathing
think
replies,
I did, but I can't tell you what I remember reading now.
And I'll miss
I
your
thought we spoke about this before, did we not?
arrogance.
You said about
God
looking it up, and I'm
smile
sure I
on
did
you,
read
my
it.
friend.
A fine ship for a fine man.
And the finest
Let's finish this chapter and I'll have another look at it. I'm sure I've read it though.
Indeed.
Right, there we go. We've spoken to everyone. Take command of our ship. And Thorstein begins his journey with his wife. Oh, I'm actually sailing. I didn't realise I was actually sailing it. I didn't know I was actually going to be sailing it. I was going to do it itself. Let's open the sail. Harold is singing us away on our journey. I do love how the Discovery Tour is so interactive. Their relationship with Harold restored. Thorstein and Gunhilda sailed to Knothall to collect the rest of their crew. I think we're going back to our first place, but a storm is brewing on the horizon, and to tame the treacherous waves that we need a great sea rider indeed. Sounds really ominous, doesn't it? Seaworthy completed. That is chapter 3 finished. We have unlocked the Slig Rotani ship pack. Is that it? I think that's it. I think that's chapter 3 complete. So we are going to stop now. I don't want to do any more. I think I kind of want to wait and we'll start the next chapter tomorrow evening. Is my plan. I pressed explore freely. I have no idea where it's going to put us, but we'll save and we'll come out and we'll chat for a minute before we finish. But we will be back again tomorrow evening to carry this on. Tomorrow morning we've got Brotherhood, first thing. But yeah, tomorrow evening we'll carry this on. We managed to get the rest of the Alwick chapter done first, and then we follow that up by also doing chapter 3. So on chapter 4 next. What I will quickly do, I can't remember how many chapters there were. Let's have a look. So we've done 3 chapters now. We're just opening up number 4 into the west, and there is 8 chapters altogether. So we'll start. If we finish chapter 4 tomorrow, we'll be halfway through. So I think it's really cool. Right, let me come out of this. Kelly, if you stop, I'm gonna go to bed. I am stopping mainly because I will be shattered tomorrow if I'm not careful. As soon as I do this, I guarantee I'm going to remember what it said. Yes, I did. I'm sure we spoke about this. This was the worst year to be alive, wasn't it? Because during the summer the temperatures dropped to 1.5 degrees to 2.5 degrees. It was ridiculous. And the world, I don't think the sun shone. I will come in just to get rid of this. I don't think the sun shone for 18 months or something like that. I just quickly read it. Yeah, that's the worst year to have lived from what they believe. Thank you very much, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry about the last 2 days. Last 2 evenings. I know better than to try and plan to stream on an evening I have an evening after physio. But yeah, last night I don't know what happened. But it's good to be, okay. And I don't feel too bad doing these, which hopefully this week will be a good test. I'm obviously not going to go too crazy. I don't want to, obviously push myself too much and cause an issue later on. But, hopefully we can do a lot more evening streams going forward, or more than we have been recently, hopefully. Which gives us more time to get things done, especially with a few games starting and on the go. Guardians of the Galaxy, we start Tuesday evening. Genshin Impact, we've got to start at some point. So Brotherhood on the go, and then Revelations and the rest of Assassin's Creed. So much to do, so much going on. But yeah, thank you very much, Kathy. So that is it for this evening. That is us done. We will be back tomorrow evening with more Discovery Tour, Age of Vikings. And then, we are live tomorrow morning as well, but it'll be around 10 a.m. UK time till about 2 p.m. UK time for Brotherhood. That's the plan currently. Thanks. I really do enjoy sharing most of your thoughts and the conversation. I haven't seen more people talking to you today about things besides me, just on the time. Cass, I'm happy either way. You know who I am. I'm happy. The whole reason we streamed or started streaming was to have that social life. And it's done exactly what it needed to do for me. It's kept me sane. And that's down to you guys. So a massive thank you to all of you. Yeah. Means a lot though, Keller. Means a lot, Cass. I didn't mean to call you Keller. Right, that's just shows how tired I am. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for all the likes, the views, the comments, and the conversation. Cass, you've been incredible with your philosophical questions and knowledge. And we look forward to hearing again from you soon. Thank you very much, Kathy. Hopefully we'll see you again very soon. And anyone else who I haven't seen or I don't know you're still there. Gaming, thank you as always. Means a massive amount. Keller's probably asleep. But everyone else, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. One of the two, if you're free. Thank you all for watching. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Thank you, Cass. Massively appreciated putting on your recommended list. I do appreciate that. Massively, Cass. Thank you. And we'll speak to you soon. Hopefully, you get to work with a bit of sleep at least. But we'll see you soon. Thanks, Cass.